This segment is brought to you by St. Martin and Bourke. Know your rights.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. The new session of the legislature will go into session on Monday. Here to talk about it, preview it a little bit. State Rep Jessica Domangue, District 53. Thanks so much. You're a vet now, right? You've been there a year, right?
Well, 5 special sessions, a
Right.
regular session, now rolling into this session. Yeah, I'm a vet.
Yeah, you better watch. You're going to age like a president, right? You know, where it seems like 4 years in every 1 year, right? So
Right,
You guys
exactly.
have done a lot and a lot going on. What are we looking as we go into this? What is the high points? What are we looking at, and what are you trying to accomplish as you go into this session?
Okay, so it's a fiscal session. So as you know, we had Constitutional Amendment 2, which failed, unfortunately.
All 4 of them did.
All 4 of them
It looked
failed.
like people just went in and voted all yes or all no.
Right. But the big one that we were focused on was Constitutional Amendment 4, and it was the reworking of Article 7 of the Constitution, which is our fiscal part of the Constitution, you know, all the money
Right.
parts. And there was some really, really good things in there, and I think we're going to see some of the good things in there again. It just, unfortunately, the messaging got really, really lost on that. So, of course, now it's a fiscal session. And so we're going to have to look at everything as far as the government and moving the government forward. Governor Jeff Landry has presented us a balanced budget. However, that budget did not include the teacher stipend. So the teacher stipend is approximately $300 million. And so in order for us to put that stipend back in, we can cut one or two things: healthcare or education. And so you tell me what you want me to cut, right? I mean, do you want me to cut disability services or right? But that's what the amendment would have done, would have allowed us to unlock some of the other dedicated funds in the state so that we wouldn't have had to always go to that piggy bank of higher ed and healthcare. However, it didn't pass, and so now we just have to kind of look back at the drawing board. So it's going to be a tough year. It's going to be a tough session, and we're going to have to make some really, really difficult decisions.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see which way you go on that, and could we end up not having a pay raise for the teachers?
I think that's a very real reality, is that we not have a teacher
Did the
stipend
governor
this year.
not feel that the teachers supported his amendment?
It seemed as though most of Louisiana didn't support his amendment. So
that's true. Lost by 60%.
Right. Yeah. So
very interesting. So we talk about fiscal, and I know the Republicans and Governor Landry are trying to get to where we don't have a state income tax. Mississippi just passed theirs, a week ago, but they're not going to have it. So put them in line with Florida, Texas, Tennessee, and all of those. So can you do anything this session to get to where y'all want to get with that?
It's going to be really difficult, especially without that amendment passing, to get to where we need to be. You know, we had a lot in there that was dealing with inventory tax. We had a lot of corporate taxes that would have been changing in Louisiana. And so, you know, to get to zero income tax, we have to fill that bucket somewhere else. So we can't just say, you know, we're going to go to zero, because where are we going to get the extra revenue
Well, you're
from?
only going to 3.5 anyway. But
Right. And so everybody's taxes did go down, right? It's a flat 3, actually.
No,
So everyone's tax, some people were at 7. And so everyone is at flat 3. So everyone's income tax this year did go down. However, to get to zero, we're going to have a little bit more work to do. But just know that we're ready to fight that battle again.
Well, you want to compete with those other states, right? And to get left behind a little bit, we can't do tariffs. That's a current event joke there. Hey, so let's talk about what else is next. But besides that, I mean, always insurance is in there. But you tell me what else are we
Okay, so you're going to see a lot about insurance reform and tort reform. That's a huge topic this year, and there's kind of 3 lanes that you're going to see happening. Several of the freshmen, and we're we're new at this, so we of course we're idealists and we think we can solve all the world's problems. But a bunch of freshmen, we co-authored about 15 tort reform and insurance bills, and they're heavy tort reform and insurance bills that we see as moving the needle. We've got the support of the insurance commissioner as well. However, where the governor sits on these bills, we're not entirely sure. The governor's supposed to do his announcement of his insurance package this Thursday, and so we'll know where the governor stands as far as a lot of these bills. But some of the bills were they were passed out of the House last year, which we had a very, very, very stringent, strict tort reform and insurance package that came out of the House. A lot of them died in the Senate. So we're hoping that with all of us co-sponsoring these bills, that it's going to give it more weight to go through the Senate, right, and then to go to the governor's desk. So just know that we are fighting, because I hear it every day, and I think Terrebonne Parish, we're kind of at the time where it's do or die for us, and just people can't afford to live here anymore. And so we absolutely need some changes.
Yeah, we absolutely do. Wasn't that turkey hunt involved recently that the governor was there with?
No comments. Yeah.
No, it's interesting, but look, we got a history, right? And so it will take a bunch of new people, new freshmen to kind of get
and I think we have to ask ourselves, are we standing with the people of Louisiana, or are we standing with the trial lawyers?
Sure.
I'm standing with the people of Louisiana, the people of Terrebonne Parish.
Right. We'll take a break. More with Jessica Domangue. We come back right here on Bayou.
This segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here, spinning another segment with Jessica Domangue of District 53 as the session starts on Monday. Some of the guys have been up there. I guess you said Z and Beryl have been up there already with appropriations. When you get there, what's the first order of business for you guys?
So, I sit on natural resources, and so carbon capture is going to be a really big hot topic. We actually had an email today, expect very long meetings, expect long days on this, because it is so controversial. Although it doesn't affect us in our area because we're all swamp.
We can't do it here?
They're not going to invest in the infrastructure in this area because we're
like Maurepas would be different.
I don't know why, but we're not on the map.
Yeah.
As far as carbon capture. So, but some of our friends in North Louisiana are adamantly against it, and so we have to support our friends in North Louisiana as well. And so it's just to kind of look at the different, industry wants it, the people don't, and so it's to kind of weigh kind of the pros and cons.
Well, it's like fracking was when it first started, right? You get concerned like, all right, is this going to affect our water table? Or what are we going to do? Or is it a great way to get credits, right, from other states into bury or whatever they do, inject those wells with those kind of carbon capture things? So it seems like maybe a good idea, but I guess we all need to know more about it.
Right, exactly. And so you'll hear a lot of that coming out of the Natural Resources Committee, and then of course we'll see what ends up on the House floor for that. But that will be interesting. I've filed some bills. Of course, it's a fiscal session, so we don't get to file quite as many bills as we would in a regular session. But one bill that I'm really excited about, especially to impact our area, is my HB 301, and it's actually related to the removal and salvage of derelict vessels. As you know, we have about 900 derelict vessels in Terrebonne Parish. We just hadn't had the funding. We hadn't had the support to remove them. And it's not just a Terrebonne Parish problem. Looking into this is a state problem. When I met with Wildlife and Fisheries to go over the law and to go over the bill, they had to show me about 5 different statutes of what the law actually was to remove derelict vessels. So what we did with this law and with this bill is we looked at what Florida is doing. And Florida has a lot more boats than what we do. And so we looked at what Florida was doing with their derelict vessels. And they do some salvage laws as well in there. And so we looked at what they're doing, and we're implementing very, very similar legislation here. as far as the removal of the vessels. So in a nutshell, kind of in layman's terms, what my bill is going to do is there's a vessel that's abandoned, and they're everywhere. Wildlife and Fisheries, the Sheriff's Department, law enforcement is going to slap a giant, fluorescent sticker on it, right? Kind of like
You have
like an abandoned car, right?
on a highway,
And
right.
so then at that point, we're going to notify or attempt to notify the owner. We're also going to, notify the salvage company, notify the parish. Hey, look, we're trying to find this owner. 30 days goes by. At that point, a salvage company could come in and maybe remove that vessel and then refurbish it. Or the other really cool thing about this is maybe there's a boat that you've been looking at for 10 years that's been in the water that you think, oh, I would love to have that boat, right? Well, this will open the opportunity for residents to take possession of some of these abandoned boats, because a lot of times they're not even our boats. Like they're not even from here. They may be from somewhere else, and they washed up from a storm. No one really knows who that boat's for, and so it's going to really give us the opportunity to clean up and clean our bayous. And what we saw is that there's no clear law or rule in the state. And so we're using this as a mechanism to clear up our laws.
So boats have protection kind of like houses, like, for private property where you just can't, like, it's derelict, we're taking it, you got to go through all that
There's
stuff.
actually no laws as far as it being derelict. Like, it's just there. I mean, it's like a piece of trash, just nobody knows what to do with it or how to take it. And then what happens a lot as well as the title gets really lost in translation, because you got to think this boat was handed down to this one and this one and this one in the family, or somebody gave it to them in a poker tournament or whatever. You know how it goes. And
Pirate
then,
had it.
right. So maybe, but there's never a clear title as well. So we're also giving people the opportunity to get a clear title on these vessels also. And it gives, look, if somebody wants to open a salvage company and, rehab some of these boats, what a great business opportunity for someone. So Wildlife and Fisheries is very, very excited about this bill. They actually put it in their package of, kind of the bills that they're really pushing. And so it was really good to get their support and to know that there is something that we can do as far as cleaning up our bayous and cleaning up our waterways.
Definitely, we need to do that. So we got 45 seconds. So what else can we see? What else can we see?
Once again, I think you're going to see a lot of insurance. You're also going to see a lot of reforms for DOTD. I know we were talking about the unnamed bridges that I'm not even going to bring up right now. But Chairman Boriak has filed a lot of bills to reorganize DOTD and kind of restructure the way we're doing things in Louisiana, because we all know it's not working. And we know that we've got the governor's support on this as well. This was part of his platform of what he wants to do. And so we absolutely hope that this moves the needle and we're able to see more results in DOTD. And look, we got good people in DOTD. It's just the structure of the organization.
All right. Well, Jess, thanks so much for the preview. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back with more Bayou Time after this.
This segment was brought to you by Cypress Stop, home of the happy customer.